College Football Nation, we are back. We are back, and this is a really interesting week for DFS. There's some really good value to be found this week. There's some really good game spots to look at this week, but there's also just a lot of games to look at this week, so you're going to have to take some stands to get after it. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Man, doing great, Joel. Good to see you. Saturday morning, let's call this a pre-lock show. I love it here at Win Daily. We do these for NFL slates and MLB and basketball. Why not college football? This is great.
I love it. I love it. Well, because there's so many games today, I think it probably makes sense for us to just dive right in, get right into it, go through the games that we're looking at so we can get through everything and give you plenty of time to make your lineups before lock at 12. So the first game to look at for today is the LSU-Arkansas game. I think we will dive into this one. In my opinion, this is one of my favorite game environments to target. So I'm going to be super exposed here. A guy, Jaden Daniels, in the last month or two has come on to be one of the best DFS plays there is. I mean, he has the biggest ceiling probably in college football in terms of rushing and throwing ability, going against an Arkansas defense that is one of the worst in the country. They can't stop anybody.
Nobody.
So he's just in a complete smash spot here. What do you think here, Dave?
No, I love it. Jaden Dan. And here's the thing. I think there could be a hangover from, winning last week against Alabama the way they did, especially that 2-point conversion late. But I don't think it hangs over from an offensive standpoint. Maybe they're in a fog early, but that even benefits us more later because Arkansas will let up the points, like you said. I think Jaden Daniels is in that fantastic spot. I think his salary is reasonable too, right? So I got him in my top 3 quarterbacks this week. I love him.
Yeah, he might be my number one. Definitely in my top 3 for sure. He might be my number one. And I want exposure to this LSU offense. So Jaden Daniels is the number one play, by far and away, and that's the guy I'm targeting. But I will pair him with Bout some. I mean, listen, again, this is their number one receiver. He's finally starting to get his target share improved. He's only really had one game where he's kind of really broken or kind of went off. But last week he had 7 catches. And, I think now it's just a matter of time for that to be a big game. And last week he played Alabama. This is not Alabama. This is a much softer defense. If he's going to continue to get the targets, I think that big game is coming, and it's coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting, and we talked about it on the show several times. You've had your Jamar Chase, your Terrace Marshall was even good, and Justin Jefferson, obviously. Boutte was in that mode, and for some reason, he just hasn't broke out, but I think it now might be the time. 5,300, fantastic value. Now, are you looking at running back at all for LSU? Because Arkansas is a sieve everywhere.
I agree. Yeah, I was going to say, especially at 4,100, I think Josh Williams is interesting, right? Because that's a really good price tag.
Yeah, he had the breakout run last week. Only 7 carries, but he still had a huge game. At 4,100, I'll take that chance. I'll roll that dice on a guy that could probably break one at any point. Kind of reminds me of Singleton from Penn State.
My only comment, and you tell me what you're thinking. I'm leaning toward one or the other with Josh and Daniels. I do think they eat into each other a bit because Daniels isn't going to throw for 300. So for Daniels to get there, he's got to run a couple. So I figure if I play Williams, I probably won't play Daniels. Or if I play Daniels, I'll probably look elsewhere at running back.
I like that call, especially with the ability to steal touchdowns near the end zone. That's what we're looking at here. And, one or the other is going to get them. And if they don't, if they share them, that's even worse for us, right? We want one to get 2 to 3 rushing touchdowns. I agree.
For sure. And then I'll look back on the other side of this Arkansas offense. I think this is a great game environment, a great way to stack this game, play both sides. KJ Jefferson at 6,500. They're just underpricing him every week. I mean, he gets 30 points almost every week, every week but 2. I think this week he's got up to 30, which for a guy at 6,500, he's criminally underpriced. So I love pairing Jefferson with Daniels and getting game stacks in here. And I'll play Jefferson with Landers, who looks to be the number one now. They're feeding him the ball. He's had a few games where he's gone over 100 recently. So Landers is my guy that I want to stack Jefferson with. But you don't have to stack Jefferson.
You absolutely don't have to. And here's one where I'd be okay with you actually using Sanders too. The problem with Sanders is the price tag's a little high for me. First, LSU's not great defensively. They let up over 300 yards a game in the air. On the ground, it's like 140. So I probably stay away from stacking this week Sanders and Jefferson and just concentrate on splitting them up like we're on the LSU side. But I'm more interested in the pass game of Arkansas. I'm with you 100%. I even like Hazelwood a little too. I'm with you on Sanders. On Lander. He's probably my favorite, especially priced down like that.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's a lot of my lineups are going to feature both Daniels and Bout with Jefferson and Lander. So you have 4 guys in this game. If this is your 48-42 game of the week, then that's going to cash some money. So love this matchup. But let's keep this train moving. We'll look at this Tennessee-Missouri game. I don't think we have to dive too far into this. We know how explosive Tennessee is. Missouri's offense is not as explosive, but there's a very clear funnel defense on Tennessee where they're pretty good against the run and they really can't stop the pass, and teams got to throw just to keep up with this offense. So I will say on the Missouri side, I am pretty interested in Dominic Lovett. At 5K, he's had multiple games where he's gone for over 100 yards and he's gotten close to 30 fantasy points. This looks like a spot better than any for him to do that again, especially if Tennessee's going to score a lot of points. So I think he's one of my favorite. I think at 5K we can call it a value receiver on this slate.
Yeah, and even on the Mizzou side, I agree with what you're saying from a pace play and where they're going to have to go. I like Cody Schrader a lot at the running back position. He has had 8 catches in his past 3 games. He has had almost 20 carries on average in those 3 games. At that price, $4,500, I think we could pop 12 to 15, maybe get a late slot touchdown. So I kind of like Schrader as well. So I'm with you. I think we can get value with Missouri this week.
Yeah, I think you're right. In a game environment that's going to have points at 4,500, a guy that's featured as well as he is, I think he's certainly in play. Now on the Tennessee side, it's all the same names, right? Like we play Tennessee every week. Is this the best matchup for Tennessee? No, but they're still one of the best offenses in the country, and I don't think I ever want to completely fade them. So Hooker's in play, and Hyatt and Tillman will be the 2 receivers I'll be looking at.
Yeah. I'm getting thoughts and prayers on my fantasy best. I'm doing all right this week. Am I playing you, Rich? Because whoever I'm playing has Chris Paul hurt, and I'm taking advantage of that this week. But thanks for reaching out. Listen, we talked about it last week. I think Tillman is the guy. Last week, yes, I got smoked by someone that lost last week. You're right. Yeah, my team's not very good either. But hey, 2-2, I'll take it. Anyway,
I'll just add, you guys are all looking up to me in fantasy basketball right now as my team.
The Monstars got me good the 1 week. And I remember, you're looking good. What, you're going to be 3-1?
I mean, as long as this comes through this week, which is looking good, I think so.
Yeah, good. Anyway, I love when we get ragged on. But Tillman's my guy. I talked about it last week, and you asked me, are you worried about his knee injury? I think he settled those concerns for both of us last week. He was the more targeted receiver last week. I thought he was the better receiver last week in a very tough game against Georgia, right? So Tillman had 7 catches last week. What did I thought Hyatt was shut down.
Hyatt had a few catches. He didn't have a great game, but again, I wouldn't put too much in stock into results against Georgia.
Oh, no, I get that. I'm just saying I'm not worried about the knee injury anymore. And I think if Tennessee's going to get back into this championship talk, into the picture, they're going to need to get Tillman going. So I think it might be one of those days that they feed Tillman. So with the price discount, 500 less, I'm going to go Tillman more today.
I agree with that. I also think this could be the last week where you get Tillman at under 7K, right? Because let's not forget, when week 1 came, Tillman was the most expensive receiver until he got hurt. And now we got him at reasonably priced. So he goes off today for one of those monster Tillman games. This price tag is going to be long gone for the rest of the season.
Yep.
All right, let's keep this train moving. We'll come look at this Oklahoma-West Virginia game. Another great game environment.
I know.
And you know what? They finally – I mean, it's still a little overpriced for me, but Oklahoma's starting to get priced more reasonably where you can play them. And this is a spot where it's worth targeting because West Virginia defense is pretty bad. So this is the first week where I'm not like in love with Oklahoma. I'm not hammering them, but I think I am interested in getting some shares of. You can go with Gabriel. You can go with Gray, who's probably their top playmaker. And Marvin Mims is one of those. He's the typical GPP play in that he can kill you and get nothing, but he's also that we've seen him go for 150 and 2 and break the slate. So against West Virginia, this seems like a week where he has the potential to break the slate. So I'll have a couple shares of Mims at 7,200 as well.
I agree. Mims finally broke a little bit last week. I've been on Oklahoma. I think we talked after the show last week or the week before against Iowa State, how they've started to reinvent their game. And look at the scores the last couple of weeks. A 40-point, 27-13 game. Now, Baylor, it shot up a little bit, but it was some points late. I think they've started to just take out the gimmicks, take out the goofiness, and go straight at it. Gabriel's still a little bit at risk for me. I think he threw 3 picks last week in that win. But I like the Mims call. I like him a lot. I think he goes off big today. West Virginia's terrible defensively. We saw Texas go for almost 50 against them. So on the OU side, I think Mims is my favorite play. I'm still a little worried about Gabriel. Has he popped, 30 yet?
Gabriel's been pretty bad. I agree. The only reason why I like Gabriel is in a really plus matchup where he can go off, you're also getting the rushing upside, right? Where it's like, in a guy in this matchup that doesn't run, that's where you probably want to fade because his only upside is throwing touchdowns. With Gabriel, he can run for 60 and a touchdown or 2 to go along with his, whatever he gets throwing 250 and 2, which is going to be enough to get you over that hump. So against a bad defense with his rushing upside, I think Gabriel's in play.
No, he's in play, and now I'm looking at it more. He's like the 6th quarterback. Okay, I'm okay with that now, right? 1, 2. He's about the 8th, so that's all right. Yeah, I'm good with him there.
Now on the other side, I think my favorite play on West Virginia is going to be Tony Mathis at 5K.
Yeah.
Again, this is a guy who I think has as much upside as a lot of the upper tier guys and a whole lot less. At 5K is a pretty reasonable price. This Oklahoma defense is not very good. He's going to have opportunities. And CJ Donaldson's out. CJ Johnson was the freshman who was explosive. With Mathis not having to share carries with him, he might be able to get up to 20 carries, which should be able to put him over the threshold to have a smash game.
I agree. I love West Virginia's running game because they do commit to it when they get success. So I think that's a good call there. What's your thoughts on JT Daniels? Because I have him circled on my list as value. I think we could get there with value. He doesn't run a lot, though. That's the problem. And 13 TDs in 9 games. But is this the week? Is this finally the week versus this team that we could actually play him?
I don't love him. I don't hate him. Like I understand where you're coming from. It's a good game environment. Like this can be the game that goes in the 40s, right? Where you just want to get as many shares of it as possible. So, and it will be different. Like he's not going to be super highly owned.
No.
So I can get behind it. I just think at 6,700 without the rushing upside, he has to throw almost 4 TDs to get there. So that's why I'm hesitant, but I could see it.
No, I think I'm off it. I just circled it. 1 game above 19 points all year. 1 game in this bad Big 12. And I only say bad from a sense of high-powered, bad defenses. It's a fantastic conference. I think I'm off it.
That's a perfect example to show you. Like he has no business being more than KJ Jefferson.
No,
and that's why it's just a misprice. Like KJ Jefferson runs, he's safe. JJ Daniels takes a ceiling game just to beat KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, there's a couple other below 6,700 I like too. So, and I know we'll get there, but a guy like Pratt from Tulane I do like better. So yeah.
All right. Let's look at the Virginia Tech Duke game. I don't think we need to stay here long. Maybe if you want to play Leonard, because Leonard has been a really good dual threat quarterback, running and throwing. The Duke offense is actually pretty explosive. Not the best matchup against Virginia Tech, but that's probably the only guy even in this entire game I'm considering.
The one I'm looking at Caleb Smith a little bit at 5,200 from Vodtech. He gets the targets, he gets the shares. Duke not very good in the pass defense. I don't love Grant Wells. I could see him doing something here, 6K, but not enough for me to buy in. But Duke, 176 against receivers. I like Caleb Smith a little bit.
All right. I think we can quickly touch on Purdue, Illinois. This is a team, Illinois just wants to run the ball. And
Yeah,
Purdue is strong against the run.
they are.
Chase Brown is a very good running back. He's a guy that is in play pretty much every week. I don't, this is not the week I love him, right? As one of the highest priced running backs against a really solid run defense, I'm probably going to look elsewhere to spend my big dollars in terms of up top, premier players. And then on the other side of the ball, this Illinois team wants to slow the clock down, run the ball. They play good defense. It's not a great DFS environment. So for the most part, I'm off this game. I think the only play I might consider is one of these Illinois receivers, knowing that Purdue can stop the run. They might be forced to pass. They get Isaiah Williams involved. At 6K, you got to pay a lot, but this could be a game where he pops a little bit. I don't know. I'm not going to be overexposed. Maybe a share or two.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Rich. I remember, it wasn't even too long ago. It could be Rondale Moore every day. Rondale Moore was so underpriced early in the season, and it was just awesome playing him in DFS. But now's not those days. We thought we were going to get a little bit of Purdue powerhouse this year early in the season. And we love Charlie Jones, but that's just too 8,100. I can't get there with Charlie Jones anymore, especially with the, Aiden O'Connell just hasn't been that successful. So I'm with you. I'm out on Chase Brown. I just think we saw Purdue shut down Tucker and Syracuse. We've seen them do pretty good in other spots too, defensively against running backs. Maccabee's the one I like today. I think Maccabee's been the guy that's been getting more of the carries lately and definitely gets the goal line carries. 5,800 again. I'm interested in any running back that's under 6K. Last couple of weeks, he's averaged 23 carries last 3 weeks. So we could get some volume against Illinois today, and it'll be Maccabee if so.
Yeah, he's been coming on pretty strong. I think he's in a interesting spot there. I agree with that one. All right. This Ohio State-Indiana game. This is a tough one because Ohio State's in a great spot, obviously.
Yep.
But they're priced up. It's just hard to afford these guys. If you're going to play a lot of Ohio State, here's the issue with Ohio State right now. There's 4 to 5 guys that are NFL players that all get the ball. There's only one ball. And they're all priced up. So you got to pay all your money. It's like, would you rather play one of the Ohio State receivers who are all awesome that they share the ball, or Rashee Rice, who's the only good receiver on his team that they throw to him every time, right? And that's the kind of thing you got to compare. You lean toward Rashee Rice, or Xavier Hutchinson is the same thing, right? He's getting the ball every time because he's the only star. So that's the issue with Ohio State. They're all great, and they all can go off, but they share the ball, and they're priced as much as other guys who don't have to share the ball.
Now, I agree, and Jigba is still questionable today. He throws another total, wrench into the whole thing. So it's just too talented across the line of scrimmage there with Ohio State. Stroud, I'll start there at 9,500. He's probably paid on his value once this year. He hit 40 once. And 9,500, you need 35 plus at a minimum. And can you get there today? Sure. I just think you can spread this thing out more with 14 games on the slate. If we were talking about 3-4 game slate, I might pop Stroud. I'm not going to today.
The other thing I'll add is for Stroud to work, it also means like the LSU game has to go under, right? Because if that game goes over, even if Stroud hits, you'd rather have the lower price guys that go for the same amount of points. So you also need the other games that are good game environments to not hit so that his 40 points is the only 40 points because at that price, if the other guy's getting the same amount, you'd rather have the cheaper guy getting the same amount of points.
Yeah, and you need one of those 7K receivers to hit. So now you're paying 18K about for a third of your salary, a little more for 2 guys. It's tough. I will say if somehow Smith and Jigba plays today, 5,700 is amazing.
Well, yeah. But
and GPP's only, listen, that's a high risk with the guy coming off. I think he's got the hamstring, so we know that can just pop real quick again. Yeah. High risk is worth in GPP's cash. I wouldn't touch him.
I'm feeling a little burned bad because the 1 week it was the Iowa game. I played a lot of them, and he ended up, coming out after the first quarter. And
I remember that.
So I feel like I'm on a wait and see because I don't want to get burned again. The other area maybe I feel more comfortable with, if one of the backs are out, I might feel okay with because the other one would get a majority of the volume. So maybe especially if it was, I think more Henderson's the questionable one. So if Henderson's out, you can play Mayan, but I would rather Mayan be out than get the cheaper Henderson and get volume, but they both play. It's just hard to pick one.
Yeah, Henderson missed last week, and I was looking at him again this week. It's questionable. I'm not sure why they put him on the field this week. But I mean, they might. But yeah, he missed last week. I used terrible. So I would see, and you're right. Williams, I mean, he had to work for a lot of his yards last week. I played him in a bunch of lineups, and he was very disappointing early. But I think he ended up with a little over 4 yards a carry. Wasn't an explosive game, but was a solid game. I'd rather have Henderson for sure.
I'm with you for sure there. All right, let's keep a peek over to the Notre Dame Navy game. Navy is just not a good game environment for DFS. Right? They're going to run slow pace, less plays. I'm not looking at anybody on the Navy side. The only guys I consider are maybe one of these Notre Dame running backs, just because they're affordable. I'm specifically Estime or Diggs, and they run the ball pretty much every time. So these aren't plays that I love, but if you're looking for a more relatively cheaper running back to target, you can play one of those two.
Yeah, I agree. It's just weird. Navy's only let up 88 yards a game on the ground. I like Estime out of both of them just because he's that power back. I think maybe they haven't seen a lot of that. They did shut down Air Force, I think, the other week Navy did. But in general, I do like Notre Dame's running game, and that price is worth it, even against a tough Navy front.
Yeah, and I would agree. It seems to get the goal line carries too. So if you want to go for the touchdown upside, that's probably where you're going to get it. All right, let's move over to the SMU USF game. Now, this is probably one of the
fireworks.
Yeah, this is it. First of all, if you look at what SMU did last week, it was just absurd. I mean, what do you have? I think he had 9 touchdowns.
He did. They scored 77 points. He had 9 touchdowns. That's all I wrote around his name. And I have stars.
And the scary thing about that is he might have a better matchup this week, which is just bizarre to think because this South Florida defense is one of the worst in the country. So
worst.
Yeah, I mean, play Mordecai and Rice, as much as you can, because this is the spot where there's going to be points galore, and they've shown they have the ability to score every time. But one of the best value plays, maybe the best value play of the week, is going to be at running back Tyler Levine at 3,400.
I agree 1,000%. I have him started and circled as well.
And in a game where they should be up, and he might even get more carries. He's going to get, I think he's safe to get about 20 carries. 3,400 is an insane price for the game environment and the workload he's looking to get. Yeah, I think Levine is probably my highest owned player today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 3,400 you can do a lot with, right? You just need him to. You're hoping for 12 to 15. But you're happy with 10. Last 2 games, he's averaged 26 DK points. Like that, you're almost 10K range right here. And that was in a game that they passed all game. So I think in any type of game script they have, he's huge. I can't believe he's 3,400. I just can't believe it.
It's a mispricing. I mean, again, the issue they'll run into is ownership. I think we're not the only ones that can see that. So he's going to be owned, but you might be one of those plays where it's like you just got to eat that ownership and get different elsewhere.
I agree. And even like, Rashee Rice will be up there. So will Mordecai. That pairing will be huge this week. It'll be chalky. But, if you see something getting in the 40s and 50s again, these guys are going to pay off. And, I'm actually comfortable playing all 3.
Yeah. Because Levine is so cheap. Because Levine's so cheap that he doesn't need to go like completely berserk to pay off that price tag. So, I'm not expecting another 9 throwing touchdowns from him. That's an outrageous amount of scoring, but just a good game from them. Yeah, all 3 of those guys can pay.
That's it. And if you put all their salaries in a bucket, you're around 20K. That's Stroud and Harrison almost. Like,
I have those 3 for sure. In this matchup, I mean, this is a cupcake. Now, what I will say, if you're playing a lot of them, I'm okay. You want this to be a positive game. I'm okay with running back with maybe Bati at running back, who's USF's best player. They feed him the ball a bunch. At 5,300, he's plenty affordable. Or their best receiver, Xavier Weaver. He's a little bit more expensive. I prefer Bati, but if you're looking for exposure to just this game environment, I think Bati and Weaver are the 2 I'm looking at.
Yeah, I love Weaver. Weaver's one of my favorite. I mean, it's not too bad. It's under 6K, but yeah, you gotta play this whole game environment for me. I'm probably not going to pick and choose and go 1s and 2s. I'm probably going to go heavy stack. And even since Marsh has taken over at quarterback, he's been okay. And at 5,000, at 5K, I mean, I could see a Marsh Weaver stack too.
I'm with you. At 5K, he's so cheap in the environment we love. He's worth taking a shot. It allows you to then get more of those big time names elsewhere because he's such a cheap option in we're hoping to be a super great game environment.
Yep.
All right. What is next? Bama, Ole Miss. Outside of DFS, this is just going to be a great game. It's entertaining. Two really good teams. For DFS, I'm not very interested. Price sounds way too priced up, I think. Jahmyr Gibbs, is a good play, but he's one of the most expensive guys on the board. Against this is a pretty decent team. The Ole Miss running game is great, but the Alabama defense is also pretty strong. Not the best place to attack. So I'm going to be pretty low exposed to this matchup.
Yeah, and Rich, it might be, crazy stack both QBs in that game, put all your bucket in. But yeah, Weaver, Rice, Levine, all positive value there. And I could see that being the better stack in that game environment than playing any QBs. That's a very interesting way to attack it. I actually kind of like that.
I'm with that for sure.
Yeah, because you're going to get a little chalky with Mordecai, and you're really risking a lot on the other side with Marsh. So, but yeah, as far as Bama goes, looking at it wholly, the most interesting part is the coaches, obviously. Lane Train is still got something up for Alabama, and I think he's going to – seeing this spread, he's a dog by 11 or 12 at home. I think it's going to get him juiced up. And the thing about Ole Miss, we've seen it this year, they're very good running the ball, right? We've been in love with Judkins all year. Evans has produced – but Dart has been pretty good, and Dart's one of my favorite quarterbacks. People don't like to attack Alabama, but he is running the ball at a high rate. I don't think I want to go in on Mingo or anybody, but I think at 6,400, I'm willing to take a slice on Dart. We saw what Jaden Daniels did to Alabama. We've seen what Hooker did. I'm not scared of attacking Alabama, and especially from the running perspective here.
That's interesting. I'm not opposed to that. I think especially because Alabama's run D is so strong, they might be forced to use Dart more through the air and with his legs and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good call. All right. Let's look at this Iowa State, Oklahoma State game. This is interesting because Oklahoma State's defense, again, a great spot to attack.
Yeah.
This is a defense that has not been very strong, both against the run and pass. Another one of my favorite plays on the board this week is Cartavius Norton. They have recent weeks made him the featured back. You're getting him at under 4K. And the one thing I like most about Norton is, everyone's going to be on Levine, right? Levine's going to be 50% owned, something like that. Norton's not that high owned. Norton's not going to be that same ownership. So if you want to get different, another value running back, you can play Norton, another smash spot. They're going to feed him the ball. He can definitely break this slate at 3,900. So love Norton this week. But of course, the go-to guy at Iowa State in a great matchup is always going to be Xavier Hutchinson, who they throw to every time. He's so safe. He's going to get you at least 8 or 9 catches, maybe more, 100 yards and a touchdown, 30 points. Love Hutchinson too.
Yeah, his floor is 16 this year. His ceiling's over 40. So you're right. You're getting 2x already on his salary at a minimum, and then just play and have some fun outside of that. I think Hutchinson's a great call. On the other side, I just don't think I can play anything OK State right now. I just don't like. Sanders may come back in, but Iowa State's a pretty good defensive team, and they play at a slower pace. So as much as this environment in OK State's D might get you a little tick up for Iowa State, I don't know if that says the same for OK State. So I think I'm off, and I'm done with the receiver game on OK State, by the way. And once Braden Johnson went down, I'm just confused, and I'm out.
Yeah, I agree. I maybe would have liked Bryson Green as like the replacement, but they priced him up to the point where it's hard to play him at that price. I mean,
yeah,
1,000 less, I would like him, but at 6K, it's too much of a wild card. So, and this Iowa State defense is strong, so they can slow people down. It's not like a smash spot for the Oklahoma State side. So, the only other name I'll mention in this game that we didn't touch is Deckers at 5,700. He's affordable.
Yes.
He could be the guy that ends up, having a big get day here as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Deckers could get you 25, 30, and that's great for that price.
For the price, exactly. So I'm a little torn on this Clemson-Louisville game. I think there are some plays here that I can get behind because there's 14 games on this slate. You got to pick your spots. I've kind of gone away from this game, just thinking the Clemson defense is pretty strong. The Louisville defense has showed improvement. So for me, maybe a little bit of Shipley, but other than that, I'm probably looking elsewhere. However, I can get behind this game if you like it.
Well, here's the thing about Louisville, and I had them against Wake Forest last week. They've started to play a different style of game lately. They're good defensively. All of a sudden, this, high-flying act, we thought we were getting Lamar Jackson again with Malik Cunningham, has really kind of turned into a much more ball control type of game. He's only thrown the ball on average 21 times the past 3 weeks. So I think in an environment where Clemson is coming off that loss, I think they're going to get back to some basics. Shipley's probably one of my favorites. Maybe Tyon Evans from Louisville, but not much else. I think it's going to be a slower-paced, low-scoring game. Louisville's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think there's plenty of other game environments we like a lot that this one is just hard to get to.
Yeah, and Malik doesn't throw it enough, and Clemson is they're very speedy with their linebackers. I don't think he's going to break anything huge. Even if he goes 15 runs, it might be for 40, 50 yards, right? Yeah. So it's not for 7,600. I just can't this week.
I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. Now, this Nebraska defense actually showed a little life last week, but that does not mean I believe in them. This is a different beat than going against Michigan. And to me, the smash spot here is the Michigan running game. I mean, they run the ball 50 times, and they're going to run all over this Nebraska team. So, especially at home, Corum is one of my favorite plays. I think if you want to get different, I'm totally fine with playing Donovan Edwards. Who's going to get 10 to 15 carries in this game. He can get 100 and a touchdown. So Donovan Edwards is certainly in play for me as well.
I agree. And Edwards is a nice receiving threat out of the backfield, 6 catches the last 2 weeks. So I like Edwards at 5,700, and I'm all over Corum too. I just won't play them both. That makes, even though they could both pop against Nebraska, I just think with so many games, I probably won't play them together.
I'm with you. I mean, I agree. It's possible because they're going to run so many times. It could just be, and maybe that's your one GPP that's different. That no one's playing both of them. When you play both, it's possible. But you're right. For both of them to really break it, they probably need to get a couple touchdowns, so they take away from each other. So probably to just best pick one for a lineup. The only other name I'll mention here as a value receiver is the tight end Shoemaker at 3,800. He has a few games where he's in the 3K range, broken the slate. He gets 20 points. He can score a touchdown. If you're just looking for a cheap value receiver against a bad defense, and Shoemaker can get there.
Yeah, I agree. He had a couple of those early in the season. I remember you played him. So I like Shoemaker. I think that's a good call for just a value and very low owned play.
Exactly. All right. Now we got this Maryland-Penn State game, which is interesting. I think looking at this game on the schedule, in week 1, I think we would have looked at this as a smash spot. This is going to be a shootout. I think fast forward to now, I don't think it's that. It's not that big high-scoring game. So, I've learned this year with Maryland side, they spread the ball out so much. They're really not as explosive as we were thinking they would be. I don't feel a need to prioritize playing anyone on Maryland.
The only one, I'll be interested in Hemby. 6,400 is a little much. I just can't get the image out of my head of what Michigan did to Penn State. So if somehow Maryland can just commit a little bit to Hemby, he's a very similar runner to Corum from a power standpoint. I could see him busting a game here, but 2-2 is going to throw 2 or 3 picks. I just see it coming. He's too loose with the ball. I'm not touching any receivers.
Yeah, it's tough to go into Penn State too in that environment. Now the Penn State running backs are underpriced for what they do. So if you want to get a value running back, I'm okay with playing them. Because they split carries, there's not a smash off for either one because they got to share the load. So, if you want to sprinkle 1 or 2 in a lineup, I'm okay with that. They can get there. But again, this is not a team that I value highly. So, Dave, just a quick story. I'll let you know, me and Rich is one of my friends. Yeah. Me and Rich have gone to WrestleMania we went 10 years in a row. Every city we traveled, and we are wrestling fans.
That is so awesome.
To go. I have retired.
Oh, I got my Macho Man, my Ric Flairs right behind ET there. Oh, and that was me growing up. I've only been to 2, but that's because they were local.
Yeah, no, we traveled. We were going to every city.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, we're
Macho Man's my boy. That's who I grew up with. But,
oh yeah.
Yes.
To just finish off this Penn State team, the last name I'll mention, he's a little overpriced. I would have put him in the 3K range, but as I mentioned, Maryland has a weak spot against tight ends. They don't cover them well. Maybe this is a week that they get Brenton Strange more involved again on Penn State side, and he has a couple big plays. At 4,400, it's not a smash, but I wouldn't go all in. But I think you can get a share or two if you're interested.
Yeah, I agree. The thing about Allen for Penn State is he's caught 4 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. That's not very sustainable from a running back situation. I'd probably lean in a little more Singleton, but it is if you want to ride the hot hand, I think that's pretty good.
Is that a wrap or is there one? Oh man,
there's one more.
One more. We got USF and Tulane. Sorry. This is another spot where I just, you got to make some tough choices. I think there's certainly some plays in here that are viable, but for the most part, this game has not been heavily put into my card because, again, I just got to make some choices. How about you, Dave?
I like this game a lot. I talked about it earlier. I think, I guess I'll look at Tulane first, and I'll flip back. But Pratt, I just think we can get a lot of value against a very, very, bad UCF defense. Pratt's 6,100. I think you could pair him up nicely with Spears. Well, Spears at running back, I know, but I think they both run enough that you could pair them up and get some value here. Tulane's good. What are they, 8-1 on the year?
Yeah, Tulane's a good team. Very good team. And they're mother the network. They can run, they can throw. They're a good defense. They're just an overall good football team.
Yeah, they are. They are.
What about you? Are you looking at anyone on the UCF side?
No, I was looking up, and I don't have anybody on the UCF side.
The only guy in UCF I might consider is Harvey. He's come on as their top back. He's kind of usurped Bowser. He was great last week. If he's coming on as maybe their new star at 5,400, it's a good price tag. But like we said, this isn't a slouch of a Tulane defense, so it's maybe not the best environment, but maybe a shot or two on him here at 5,400.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, I'll respond real quick. I went to the one in 98, I think, or 99 in Philadelphia. And then the other one was up at the Meadowlands. I think 2010, something like that. But yeah, MetLife. So yeah, Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. I think that environment, Joel, just to wrap it up, it's a tough one for me to really invest in with how good Tulane's defense is.
I'm with you. That's a wrap for today. Good luck today, everyone. There are a lot of games that we like to target. Go find your game environment, stack them up. When you hit the one that goes into the 40s, that's going to win you all the money. Good luck. And Dave, did I forget anything?
No, I think that's it. But let's just add this at the end. Hey, please hit a like button right at the bottom. Smash it. I don't care what you do with it. And definitely follow us on Twitter. And if you want to get involved, if you're not a subscriber yet, jump on to windailysports.com. This week's free. Actually, your first week anytime is free with the promo code GREEN, GREEN. Just test it out. Play around. Look in the Discord. We're in there talking several sports, but every sport's in there. And, the best part, the models and the articles. I mean, I think this is the best part. But if you want to really get in there and dive deep like we do, the numbers are there too.
$5.99 a week, it's nothing, right? If you're putting action out there, it's probably more than $5, right? Maybe get you some more wins. All of a sudden, that ROI is looking good. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in next week. Let us know how you did. Love to see the results, and we'll go after them again. Good luck.